Good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Hypersonic55 and welcome to a new film review. And today's film review is one I've been cautiously looking forward to for a while now. It is, of course, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, I wasn't too much of a big fan of the first Amazing Spider-Man. I thought it was good and it had some really interesting and new elements to it. But overall, I just didn't feel like it was a Spider-Man film for me. And I rewatched it recently, and it was a lot better than I remember it, but still, again, there was just a few elements that just didn't quite come together for me to make it the Spider-Man film that I wanted. So when the trailer started showing up for The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I thought, man, this is going to be my film. It looks so much cleaner, so much better, and the storyline looked like it was more interesting, the characters looked better, the visuals looked better. I thought this was going to be my movie. So I went to go out and see it with a friend of mine earlier on today, and I'm ready to give you my thoughts. So watch this review to find out my thoughts. So the story in this film goes a little something like this. Spider-Man now has adjusted to becoming the superhero that everyone likes in New York City. Some people are still 50-50 about him, thinking, oh yeah, is he a hero or is he a vigilante? Otherwise, was it he's doing well by the people? But outside of the suit, Peter Parker still has problems. He's still trying to balance that lifestyle of being the hero, but also being himself. He's got his relationship with Gwen Stacy that he's dealing with, even though he was told by her father not to continue the relationship. He's still doing it anyway because, Peter Parker thinks he can balance everything. And he also has another go at trying to discover the history behind what happened to his parents, which was a massive plot point from the first film that was seriously sidelined. But then also on top of that, you have the reintroduction of Harry Osborn into Peter Parker's life, and you also had the big bad villain of the film, Electro, a man that worked at Osborn that got into an accident and then turned into this electric man of madness who's got a serious beef with Spider-Man. And that is basically a synopsis of the film without going into the area of spoilers. Now, this story had a lot of potential to be interesting. There are a lot of different plot points going on. There's multiple plot points going on for several of the different characters in the film, whether they be returning or new characters. And some of it works and some of it doesn't. But at the core of the film, where it works best is the relationship between Peter and Gwen Stacy. Their relationship is key to this film, and that is where the film's main strength works. Otherwise, there is a lot going on in this film, and it's really kind of difficult to go about and take several of these different character plot points and then make them work in a cohesive manner. So while the film is not the mess that Spider-Man 3 was, this film still could have benefited from streamlining a lot of the plot points that it had in this film. So when it comes to the cast, I feel like, they're pretty good for the most part. Mr. Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, is pretty good. He's definitely stepped up and become a more capable Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I feel like as Peter Parker, he is definitely taking this character in more emotional territory than before. He's a lot more determined, a lot more emotionally conflicted, and he just seems like, a better Peter Parker than he was in the last film. And as for Spider-Man, I feel like his lines are delivered with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more, humor, which, is more in line with what I'd like to see from the Peter Parker character. And while I don't feel like he is the definitive version of Peter Parker that I would want, because I'm a very fickle comic book fan, I'll say that out loud, I still feel like, he's definitely become a better, Peter Parker / Spider-Man. As for Gwen Stacy, played by Emma Stone, she was great. She looks amazing as usual, just because Emma Stone is just amazing. But as Gwen Stacy, she really is good. She shows that she's still a very smart, capable young lady. She is emotionally conflicted because of her relationship with Peter Parker, but she also has relevance to the story. And I really like what they did with her character in the film. She was pretty cool. Now, when it comes to Jamie Foxx as Electra in this film, this is where the casting starts to get a bit iffy. I mean, as Max Dillon, he's pretty cool. This weird employee that has some very interesting personality traits. And you feel for the guy because he's just a general geezer that just happens to come into contact with Spider-Man, and then he believes that Spider-Man is his best mate. But obviously, as comic book villains happen to go in these films, he gets into an accident, then gets born again as this villain, then turns bad, and then becomes corrupt and has beef with Spider-Man. As the villain, he was pretty cool. He has way better powers than the Lizard, and I felt like he was a way more interesting villain than the Lizard was in the last film. But overall, he just doesn't have that sort of villainous gravitas that you'd get from characters like Loki, or even Doc Ock in the second Spider-Man, like, film from Sam Raimi. He was good, but just, I've seen better. Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn, he was pretty cool in the film. I liked his character. He was a very interesting person. I liked the way in which he was just, smart, aggressive, very cool and casual, but very distant at the same time. I thought DeHaan did a pretty good job, although as the new Green Goblin-ish kind of character, it was a bit questionable, let's put it that way. Also, Sally Field did a really good job with Aunt May in this film. There is one scene in particular, which I won't spoil, but it's just a very emotional scene between her and Peter, and it was just really nice. And I thought like that was the sort of emotional center that I wanted from her character in the first film that really got illustrated in this one. Now, when it comes to the presentation about the film, there is no doubt in my mind that visually this film is gorgeous. It honestly is a very good looking film. I mean, The Amazing Spider-Man was a good looking film, there ain't no doubt about that, but this one takes the visuals to a whole new level. It's very crisp, very sharp, very detailed, colorful, and it has a way more interesting color scheme than ever before. The cinematography seems to be a lot more interesting. The action's bumped up to a very high level. The fights between Spider-Man and Electro, and just some of these action sequences with Spider-Man's web slinging around the city is just so much more advanced, so much more vivid and crazy. I like it. It's really good. And when the action's working, the action works. The action is on a much higher tier than the last film, and that's something I really enjoyed about the film. And the one thing I'm not indifferent about is the action. It's good. The soundtrack, however, is another case entirely. While I do believe that Hans Zimmer's score for this film is better than the last film in a lot of ways, because it feels like it's a lot more heroic, a lot more powerful, a lot more impactful. You know that you can hear it when it's going on. You can tell it's there. There are some very questionable song choices inserted into this film which really take me out of it, and just makes the film feel like it's just attempting to try and cater to modern audiences, showing, oh, it's 2014, we're hip, let's throw some modern music in there. And I'm like, it's not entirely necessary. Let the score do all the music talking, you know what I mean? So now it comes to my overall thoughts on the film. And to be honest, not many people are going to like this answer, but I don't know. I've never felt this indecisive about a film since the first Amazing Spider-Man back in 2012. Honestly, it's just hard to say, but there are moments of this film that make me feel joy, make me feel happiness, make me feel, yes, this is a Spider-Man film I'm loving. And then it's just like moments where I don't feel like I'm watching a comic book movie at all, but just a romantic film focused on two of the main characters, Peter and Gwen. And it really takes me out of the comic book elements that make this film a comic book movie. And I don't know, there's just moments that I really like, but then there's stuff that I don't like, and this just wasn't, again, the Spider-Man film that I wanted. I wanted something more along the lines of the Spectacular Spider-Man series. That's, for me, my favorite adaptation of Spider-Man in recent years, and this film could have been so much more. I feel like this is going to be another one of those films that literally splits its, audience in half. Depending on what kind of comic book fan you are, it will be a different kind of experience for you. Whether you're a fan of the comic book source material and everything, or whether you're a fan of the Sam Raimi films, or whether you're a fan of these newer films, if you're a fan of the recent Spider-Man film, then you'll probably have a good time with this one. If you weren't convinced with the last film, you probably won't enjoy this one. But then there's some people that have seen this film and said that they liked it over the original. I like it over the original, but it doesn't mean that I really love it. And I wanted to love the film, and that's the problem. I didn't love it. Now, this is probably not going to be a very popular opinion, and I can see many people disliking my video and getting into controversial arguments about, oh yeah, this is what Spider-Man is, and you're an idiot. Mate, bring the fire. That's what I say. So just to clarify, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's good, but I still prefer Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, and Captain America the Winter Soldier is still the better film of 2014 in terms of comic book movies, and just my favorite comic book film in recent times. Whew, it's been a hard thing to go about and do, so yeah. Again, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about the film in the comments below. Do you love the movie? Do you hate the movie? Did you think the film was okay? Are you indifferent to the film like I am? I just want to know your thoughts, because this has been something that's been racking my mind for the last few hours, and I just couldn't give a proper opinion about it, so I apologize. But this film has really got my head messed up. So yeah, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and join the revolution that's the Hypersonic 55. And hopefully when I do another film review, it won't be as indecisive as this one. So yeah. So until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Hypersonic 55 signing out, yo.